Welcome to my videos on Aeon's End Legacy. If you didn't already know, I am playing the game right now with two of my friends, well, my wife and a friend, and we're not shooting playthroughs. Instead, what I'm doing is, at the end of each game, I'm going to be doing like almost like a football highlights type of thing where I tell you, how the battle went down, what kind of funky things happened, if we, put stickers on the guys, anything, how this changes, all of that. So it's like a condensed version of just me telling you what happened during our last game. So, Chapter 2, Among the Ruins. The basic concept of this thing is Gravehold is pretty much destroyed now. All that's left are tunnels. So we're like walking through these ruins, these tunnels, and all of a sudden this big bad guy shows up. And his name is Bladius. And he looks like, I don't know, a Decepticon having a fit. So he's at 40 life. When he unleashes, the player with the fused open breaches suffers 2 damage, which is a little bit bad, but not the end of the world. And if you want to go crazy, you can put him at 90 life, which we did not do. We put him at 40. And he's got a special thing here that if you actually run out his deck, you lose, which is contrary to what Aeon's End is all about, usually. So we've got this bad boy here. 40 life, 30 for Gravehold. As I mentioned in the previous video, the supply has changed from the first chapter. We ended up changing out this one and I believe this one over here. So if you want to take a look at those, I'll go in tighter and you can pause that, but I did talk about them in the last video. So there you have it, and you can pause that. I will give you 3, 2, 1, cut. And as far as our characters go, each of the characters now has a special card to put in their starting hand. And if you remember, mine was this thing over here. Gain 1 ether. If you have 3 or more open breaches, gain 1 life. And then the rest is the same as everybody. This person over here had a spell, cast 1 damage. If your discard pile contains 4 or more other cards, deal 2 additional damage, which is nice. And lastly, my wife over here, she had a gem, gain 1 ether, and you may cast one of your prepped spells that costs 4 or less. So potentially this enables you to, fire off some spells outside of the usual game sequence. So there you go. Now the main particularity of this scenario is this big deck right here. They call this the Evolve deck, okay? The game tells you to bring this stuff out. And what it's going to do is, like, let's say we start flipping through these cards. This is a pared down version of the Nemesis deck, but for this purpose, it'll be enough. So you'll flip something over and it'll say, okay, it's a minion, it's got 5. But on the next Nemesis turn, it's going to go Evolve. And so it says, when you evolve this card, read card E2. And then E2 will be the next one in line here. So what does that do? So if it says Evolve, then you'll read this text here. And it'll tell you to go get a specific card in there. For example, this one. So now it says immediately. See, it's a hatchling. This was an egg, Leviathan egg. Leviathan hatchling. Pretty cool. So immediately, if this is chapter 4 or higher, evolve. Okay, it is not. And then persistent Gravehold suffers 1 damage. So you change this thing out for this, and now this minion is bigger and badder. And when whenever you draw a Nemesis card, Gravehold will suffer 1 damage. But this whole evolve mechanism isn't only for swapping, one card to the other. What it actually does is, you'll have either minions or even like power cards like this that have these open spaces here. And let's say we read it. Okay, let's check it out here. Okay, so power 2. So you'll put 2 tokens on there, and after 2 Nemesis turns, it'll activate. So when that activates, unleash twice. Okay, fine, which means, players suffer damage. And then Gravehold suffers 4, which is bad. Then if Gravehold has 13 life or more, evolve. Okay, so when you get a card with these spaces here and an evolve triggers, you'll put a sticker. It's these brown little round stickers. I'll show you what they look like. So you'll put on one of those, okay? And you will add them sequentially. And whenever a card is full, then something bad will trigger. Like, for example, we have a minion here and we've had it evolved like 4 times. Now on the 5th time, it'll say, if you can't place an evolve sticker, read card E20. We haven't gotten there yet, but I suppose either this thing will get even bigger and badder, or there's going to be some sort of game event, you know, of cataclysmic proportions or something. So this deck is pretty cool, and I won't go too far into it because this is actually where we are now, so I don't want to read anything else. So let me just, you know, put this like this for now. So yeah, so this evolved deck is pretty sweet, and that's what this whole scenario is. It's a regular Nemesis fight. Like, I would say it feels like any old, you know, standard Nemesis. You're just hitting it, trying to get it down to 0. But every once in a while, you'll get to place stickers on cards. So essentially what I feel this scenario was doing is it's setting us up for trouble down the line, like in other scenarios. But it was pretty cool to just see these things come out and put stickers on them. And we have a situation, actually, I want to share this with you. We've had one of these cards come out, and I do not remember which one it was, okay? I'll flip through some of these here so you can see them if you want. We had one of these cards come out, probably one of these purple or yellow ones, and I don't know how it happened, but what it ended up doing was marking one of us. Like, I think it was a minion, and it was like this minion basically, you know, sprays you with something or something like that, and then it's like you've become marked. So the game told you to go through there and get a card called Marked, and this is now going to be a basic card, so it's going to come back in every Nemesis deck. And on this card, you had to write down the name of one of your characters, like the guy who got sprayed by the beast or something. And then it's like, okay, so unleash twice, which is bad enough, and then that guy suffers 3 damage. So now, for the rest of the game, my character is marked, and he will suffer 3 damage every time this thing comes out, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was very lucky because, as you've seen, I have a sticker here that tells me that I can gain 1 life every once in a while. So there you go. What this deck also did is halfway through the game, it let us evolve. And what I mean by that is we got to actually put a sticker on here. If you can see that, that's a sticker. And then it gave us our 4th breach that you usually have, you know, in your standard games of Aeon's End. So now everyone was able to have a 4th breach attached to their character, and they could start using it right away. Although we ended up not using them because, I mean, you're halfway down the game. These things are super expensive to focus. So, I mean, we didn't really use them, but we have them now. And these 4 breaches are just like the ones in regular Aeon's End in the sense that they give you +1 damage on cast. So if you shoot something out of there, you get +1 damage. Now, as far as standout moments, nothing really to write home about. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. You know, we kept taking damage because of this. Some of us got pretty close. Nobody got exhausted. I think one player maybe got down to actually 2 life out of 10. So that was pretty tight. But all in all, we didn't feel like taking this guy down was impossible. It felt very much doable. I think we ended the game and Gravehold had, I don't know, maybe 15 life. So something like that. It wasn't as dramatic as the first game. Even though the first game we kind of knew we were going to win because of that assist deck. But I think the most fun we had with this particular mission or chapter was the fact that you could evolve creatures and cards and put stickers all over the place. So that was really the highlight of that particular chapter. And now at the end of the chapter, what happened is we finally got to put this thing down here. So they have you open a sticker sheet to put in these charges, which again is something you usually have in a basic game of Aeon's End, where your character has a special ability and you can charge it up to fire it every once in a while. So we actually, let me show you the sticker sheet. So sticker sheet looks like this, and we can read a few of them here. So these are the ones we did not pick. So I mean, you give it a name and then it'll do something. So this one says each ally draws 2 cards. Fine. Deals 7 damage to a minion. This one was like, oh man, we almost took that one, but you'll see the ones we picked. I mean, it made sense for us. This one here, it says cast all of your prepped spells that cost 4 or less. Each of those spells deals 1 additional damage. Yes, useful. but it's very much, you got to be in the right situation for that thing to work. And also, my wife's gem here says, cast one of your prepped spells that cost 4 or less. So we're like, it's not a repeat, but close to it. So we didn't go for that one. What else here? We had gain 2 gems from any supply pile. Place one of those gems in any ally's hand. That's cute, but again, gaining gems is not a big problem. It's pretty easy to do, so we didn't feel like we needed that. And then we have here, gain a spell from any supply pile. You may place that spell into any ally's hand. Pretty sweet. We were thinking about that one, but we didn't go for it. So let me show you the ones we actually did take. So my guy over here got Gravehold gains 5 life, which if you've played Aeon's End, you know that keeping Gravehold alive is very important. And if you don't have any cards in the supply that do that, well then it's always good to have this here. So we picked that one. What I was surprised though is that whatever the power you took, it was always the same amount of charges. And if you've played Aeon's End before, you know that some are longer to do, some are shorter, but for purposes of stickers and whatnot, they're all the same. So I'm the guy that heals Gravehold. My friend here, Snow, has cast any player's prepped spell without discarding it. That spell deals 1 additional damage. And we thought this was pretty cool. We liked the fact that you can do things out of turn sequence. I don't know, it's very appealing to us to do this. And yeah, I don't know, it just felt right, so we picked that one. My wife here took any player gains 3 life. So yeah, which is always a good thing. Again, I feel that by having especially these two abilities as things that you can always use at least once in the game, it gives you more leeway in what types of relics that you can set up. Because I mean, if you've played the game before, you know that you always end up having to choose a relic that heals Gravehold and having to choose one that heals life. For us, it just felt like, well, if we have these basic things here, like these things that you would need in every game of Aeon's End, if we have them all the time on our people here, then that gives us a lot more freedom of choice as of how to construct the supply piles over here. And of course, by unlocking all of this stuff, the game had us open a little box in which they gave us these charge tokens over here that you can put down there every once in a while, and when this thing is full, boom, you can activate this ability. When everything is done, the game then gives you 4 new supply piles, and you have to replace 2 with 2. So let me show you actually what we did. Okay, so here they are. So we ended up getting, I think for now it's the same as the first game, so it's a new gem, a new relic, and 2 new spells. So the gem was an entangled shard that costs 4. It says gain 2 ether, and if you have 3 or more charges, gain an additional ether. We didn't really see the benefit. Yeah, I don't know. It was too situational for us. We liked the gems that we had before, so we did not change a gem out. So let's take that away. Then Starfire Frenzy. Let's go to the relic actually. Relic here, Brain Knife or Bran Knife. Gain 1 charge. Okay, fine. Any ally focuses their closed breach with the lowest focus costs. Well, I mean, we already have this, right? Focus any player's breach, like any player's breach, and then you can prep a spell in hand. And this is any ally focuses their closed breach with the lowest focus cost. This is like a lesser version of this, right? But you gain a charge. Well, womp womp. We didn't feel like it was that hot, so we decided to keep this. So that was gone. And then our 2 spells here. The Starfire Frenzy for 6. Deal 4 damage, which is nice. And then you may discard a spell in hand. If you do, deal 1 additional damage, nice, and gain a charge, nice, nice. And the last one here, Force Transfusion, costs 4, deal 3 damage, very good. If you have 3 or more charges, gain 1 charge. So we're like, yeah, okay, fine. So we ended up taking this one, and let me show you which ones we actually got rid of. So to reiterate, in the end, we decided to not take these. And then if we wanted to keep these, we'd have to replace them with cards of the same type. So we got rid of Bending Beam, this one here, which turned out to not, it didn't work that much, didn't work out that much for us. So we replaced this 5 here with, let's say, this 6. And then we also got rid of this cheap one here that does 3 damage for 4 ether, which this one that does 3 damage for 4 ether, but also if you have 3 or more charges, gain 1 charge. So we're like, okay, this is like a pimped version of this. So we got rid of this one, kept that one. So this is what our setup looks like now. So that was it. That was chapter 2 called Among the Ruins. And yeah, pretty fun, pretty fun. Now, before I end this video, I just want to say, if you enjoy this, please let me know in the comments. Please hit the like button. I know it sounds like a load of bullcrap, but it actually is important and it does help the channel. Also, if you feel like there's something missing here that you would want to see, or would like the video to be made another, a different way or something, you're like, hey, why didn't you talk about XYZ, or I would like to see XYZ, let me know in the comments. I just might address that. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. And if you want some more videos, YouTube thinks you might like the one on the left. I personally think you might enjoy the one on the right. And if you want to make sure to never miss any of my videos, I would ask you to click the middle button here to, of course, subscribe.
Once more into the breach, dear friend! Once more!